On our 25th wedding anniversary, my husband gave me divorce papers instead of a gift. 25 years is long enough, he announced in front of all our guests. I want someone young now, and you need to be out of the condo by tomorrow. He seemed to have forgotten that my parents gifted me that condo. His mother just smiled silently. I rose, took the microphone, and said something that left him speechless. But let me start from the beginning. 3 weeks before that night when my entire world changed. My name is Elena Mitchell, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to whispers coming from behind the bedroom door. My husband Marcus was on the phone again. His voice sounded strangely excited, almost giddy. I lay still in the darkness, my heart pounding, catching snippets of the conversation through the crack in the door. "We have to do this right," Marcus insisted. "She won't suspect a thing. The timing is perfect. The anniversary party is the ideal setting." A woman's voice replied on the other end. I couldn't make out the words, but I recognized the tone. It was his mother, Diane Mitchell. They were plotting something in secret, and whatever it was, it involved me and our upcoming silver anniversary. "Of course not," Marcus continued. "After 25 years, she trusts me completely. This will be easy." The hardwood floor creaked as he moved closer to the bedroom. I quickly shut my eyes, slowing my breathing, pretending to be asleep. He slipped back into bed carefully, but I could feel his body was stiff, restless. He wasn't sleeping. He was planning. The next morning, everything felt wrong. Marcus was unnaturally affectionate in a way that made my skin crawl. "Elena, my love," he said, kissing my cheek. He smelled of expensive cologne I didn't recognize. "How about we finalize the restaurant reservation for our anniversary today? I want everything to be perfect for you." Perfect? I raised an eyebrow. In 25 years of marriage, Marcus had never been enthusiastic about family celebrations. I always organized everything while he complained about the cost or found excuses not to attend. But now, suddenly, he was planning the perfect party. "Sure," I replied carefully, watching him rush around the kitchen like a man with a mission. "Whatever you think is best." His cell phone was on the nightstand when I came out of the shower. The screen lit up with a notification before I could look away. It was a calendar reminder that made my blood run cold. Call S at 11 a.m. Appointment with Hayes at 2 p.m. S? Hayes? I didn't know anyone by those names. "Honey," I asked casually, pouring myself coffee, "who's the S you have in your calendar?" Marcus spun around so fast he nearly dropped his coffee mug. For just a second, I saw panic flash across his face. Raw, undisguised panic. But he recovered quickly, smoothing his expression into something resembling casual innocence. "Oh, that's Sanchez," he said. "A colleague from our Seattle office. Just need to consult with him about a project. Nothing important." A lie. I knew my husband like the back of my hand. When he lied, his left eye twitched, just like it was doing right now. "And who's Hayes?" I pressed, keeping my voice light and unconcerned. "Hayes? Oh, he's might be bringing in a big contract. Trying to set up a meeting." Another lie. The eye twitched again. "I see," I replied with a smile, even as my chest tightened with dread. "Good luck with that." Once he left for work, I stood by the window, staring at the gray October sky. 25 years. A quarter century. We'd met in college. I was studying architecture. He was an ambitious business major who talked endlessly about building an empire. We married for love, or what I thought was love. We dreamed of children, a big family, growing old together surrounded by grandchildren. But children never came. The doctors found nothing wrong with either of us. They called it unexplained infertility. Marcus took it harder than I did, especially when his mother Diane started making passive-aggressive comments about her lack of grandchildren. "How sad it is when a family line ends," she would say at every holiday dinner, looking pointedly at me. Over time, we accepted being childless. We told ourselves we had advantages: more freedom, more money for travel, more time to focus on our careers. But something vital had shifted between us. The warmth had leaked out of our marriage, replaced by a cold politeness that felt like living with a stranger. I was pulled from my thoughts by a sharp knock on the door. I knew who it was before I even looked through the peephole. Diane Mitchell stood there with her usual cold smile, the one that never reached her eyes. "Elena dear," she said, walking past me into the condo without waiting for an invitation. "How are you? Are you preparing for the big celebration?" Diane had always treated me with exaggerated courtesy while maintaining a vast emotional distance. In 25 years of marriage, She never once called me her daughter. I was always Elena dear, said with a slight emphasis that made it clear I would never truly be family. Slowly but surely, I replied, leading her to the living room. Marcus wants to celebrate at a restaurant this year. Very appropriate, she responded, her eyes scanning the room as if appraising its value. A respectable venue with guests. Celebrating at home just doesn't convey the importance of the milestone. She settled into the armchair without being asked, crossing her legs and fixing me with an evaluating stare that made me feel like I was being measured for a coffin. By the way, Elena dear, she said, her voice taking on a falsely casual tone. I've been thinking about the future. Marcus is 53 now, not getting any younger. And well, we don't have grandchildren to think about. Don't you think it would be wise to organize your paperwork? Wills, property documents, that sort of thing? My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Just being practical, she said with a dismissive wave. We all need to plan for the unexpected. Speaking of which, where do you keep the condo deed? The property documents? The question hung in the air like a threat. They're in the safe, I replied slowly. Why do you ask? Oh, just in case something happens, Diane said lightly. It's good to know where important documents are kept. You know, for emergencies. After she left, I sat in silence, the pieces slowly clicking together. The 3 a.m. phone call, Marcus's sudden enthusiasm for the anniversary, the mysterious S and Hayes in his calendar, Diane's pointed questions about property documents. This wasn't about celebrating 25 years of marriage. This was about ending it. My hands shook as I went to Marcus's computer. He'd always used the same password, the date we met, September 15th, 1999. But when I typed it in, the screen flashed red. Access denied. In 25 years, he'd never changed his password, never kept secrets from me. Until now. I tried his birthday. Nothing. I tried his mother's birthday. Nothing. Then, with a sinking feeling, I tried our wedding anniversary but in reverse. May 12th entered as 12:05. The computer unlocked. The browser history made me physically ill. How to divorce with shared assets. Spousal rights in property division. Legal strategies for keeping the family home. Can a spouse be forced out of jointly owned property? How to minimize alimony payments. He'd been researching this for weeks, planning, plotting, preparing to destroy our marriage while smiling to my face every morning. My phone rang, making me jump. It was my friend Candace, her voice tight with urgency. Elena, I don't know how to tell you this, she said, but I just saw Marcus at the jewelry store in Georgetown. He was with a young woman. They were looking at rings. She was all over him, Elena, hugging him, kissing him like they were a couple. My throat closed. What did she look like? Early 30s, blonde, very polished, expensive clothes. She looked like she thought she was hot stuff. And Elena, the way they were together, it was obvious this wasn't new. They were comfortable with each other, familiar. I hung up and stared at the wall. A mistress. Of course there was a mistress. That's who S was. And Hayes was probably a divorce lawyer. That evening, Marcus came home with roses and expensive chocolates, his smile wide and fake. For my one and only love, he said, kissing my lips. One and only. The irony was bitter. We need to talk about our future, I said, watching his reaction carefully. He tensed, just slightly, but I saw it. Talk about what? Everything's fine. The party is in 1 week. Let's not spoil the mood with serious discussions. We can talk after the anniversary, okay? After the anniversary. After he'd already destroyed me publicly. After he'd already humiliated me in front of everyone we knew. Okay, I said softly, after the party. But I had no intention of waiting. That night, while Marcus snored beside me, I carefully took his phone from the nightstand. I knew his passcode. He thought I didn't. But I'd watched him enter it dozens of times. 6 digits. March 8th. International Women's Day. The mistress's birthday, I realized with a sick feeling. The phone unlocked, and what I found confirmed my worst fears. Text messages to someone saved as S. Sierra. I'm tired of hiding. When are you leaving her? The anniversary party. That's when we do it. Everything is set up with Hayes. After I announce it publicly, she won't have any choice but to sign over her half of the condo. My mother talked to Hayes. He says if we handle it right, we can get everything. The condo, the cabin, most of the savings. She won't know what hit her. I had to cover my mouth to keep from screaming. 25 years. 25 years of my life. and he was planning my destruction like a business transaction. I copied every message to my own phone, took screenshots of everything, and carefully put his phone back. I needed help. Professional help. I called my old college friend Aisha Reynolds. We'd studied together, and she'd gone on to become one of the best family law attorneys in D.C. We hadn't spoken in months, but when I called her office the next morning, she made time for me immediately. Her office was in a sleek building downtown. When I walked in, she took one look at my face and knew something was terribly wrong. "Elena, what happened?" she asked, closing the door behind me. I told her everything. The late-night calls, the computer searches, the texts with Sierra, the jewelry store, Diane's questions about the property, Hayes the divorce lawyer. All of it spilled out while Aisha took notes, her expression growing darker with each detail. When I finished, she sat back and studied me. "Elena, they're planning to ambush you, publicly humiliate you at your own anniversary party so you're too emotionally destroyed to fight back. Then they'll pressure you to sign away your rights while you're vulnerable. It's calculated and cruel. What can I do?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Fight back," Aisha said firmly, but smartly. "First, tell me about the condo. Whose name is on the deed?" "Both of ours," I said. "We put both names on it when we bought it in 2005. "Who paid for it?" The question made me pause. "My parents did. They gave us the down payment as a wedding gift. But Marcus wanted his name on the deed too, so we put both names." Aisha leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "Elena, if your parents gave you that money specifically, and if we can prove it was a gift to you alone, we might be able to argue it's your separate property. Do you have any documentation? Letters, emails, anything showing your parents intended it as a gift to you?" I thought hard. My father had written me a letter when they gave us the money. I'd kept it because it was one of the last things he wrote before he died. "It's at home," I said. "In my personal files." "Get it," Aisha said. "And anything else that proves your parents' intent. Bank records, anything." Then she paused, studying me. "Elena, I need to ask you something. Do you have any money of your own? Anything Marcus doesn't know about?" I hesitated, then decided to trust her completely. "Actually, yes. 3 weeks ago, I received notice about an inheritance. My Aunt Josephine in Munich passed away. She left me everything. A condo in Munich worth about $800,000, a bank account with $570,000, and a vacation property in Miami Beach. Total value over $3 million. Aisha's eyes widened. "Does Marcus know?" "No," I said. "I was going to tell him at the anniversary as a surprise, but now I'm glad I didn't." "Elena," Aisha said slowly, a smile spreading across her face, "you just gave yourself the perfect safety net. Keep that inheritance secret. Don't tell him. Don't tell anyone. If he wants to play dirty, we'll play smarter." Over the next week, I gathered evidence. I recorded conversations. I copied financial documents showing Marcus had been withdrawing large amounts from our joint account. $15,000 in the past month alone, spent on gifts for Sierra and payments to his lawyer. I found the letter from my father, clearly stating the down payment was a gift to his beloved daughter Elena. I met with a property lawyer who confirmed that under DC law, gifts from parents could be considered separate property if properly documented. And through it all, I played the perfect unsuspecting wife. I smiled. I helped plan the party. I acted excited. Marcus had no idea I knew everything. The night before the anniversary, Diane came over again. She sat in my living room, sipping tea I'd made for her, and smiled her cold smile. "Elena dear," she said, "tomorrow is a big day. I want you to know that no matter what happens, I've always thought you were," she paused, "adequate for my son, adequate. 25 years, and I was adequate." "Thank you," I said, matching her false sweetness. "That means so much." After she left, I laid out my outfit for the next day. A beautiful midnight blue dress I'd bought specifically for this occasion. I looked at myself in the mirror, 50 years old. Silver hair I'd stopped dyeing because I liked the natural look. Lines around my eyes from 25 years of smiling. I looked like myself. And that was enough. Marcus came home late, smelling of perfume that wasn't mine. "Big day tomorrow," he said, kissing my forehead. "Everything's arranged. It's going to be unforgettable." He had no idea how right he was. The Watergate Hotel ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, white roses everywhere, elegant table settings for 100 guests. Marcus had spared no expense. $45,000, according to the receipt I'd found. $45,000 to humiliate me publicly. I walked in wearing my blue dress, my head high. Friends and colleagues greeted me with hugs and congratulations. 25 years, they said. That's incredible. You two are relationship goals. If only they knew. Marcus worked the room, shaking hands, accepting congratulations, playing the role of devoted husband. And beside him, introduced as his new marketing assistant, was Sierra. Early 30s, blonde, beautiful in an expensive red dress. She smiled at me with barely concealed contempt. "Hello," I said, extending my hand. "You must be Sierra. Marcus has mentioned you." Her grip was cold. "Just briefly. I'm new to the team." "Welcome," I said, smiling warmly while my heart pounded with rage. Diane held court at a table near the front, accepting compliments about her wonderful son and his lovely wife. She caught my eye and smiled, that same cold smile. She knew what was coming. She was looking forward to it. The dinner was served. Expensive steaks, fine wine, elegant desserts. People laughed and told stories about Marcus and me. "Remember when you two met at that college party?" someone said. "Marcus was so nervous he spilled beer all over himself trying to impress you." Everyone laughed. I laughed too, even though inside I was counting down the minutes until my life was supposed to end. Finally, the moment came. The MC, a friend of Marcus's, took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, the groom, the husband, would like to say a few words." Laughter. Applause. Marcus stood, adjusting his tie, his face flushed with wine and confidence. "Thank you all for being here," he began. 25 years ago, I made a choice. I chose Elena as my wife, and tonight, I want to talk about that choice. The room grew quiet. People leaned forward, expecting a touching tribute. "I've thought a lot about these 25 years, Marcus continued, about what we've built together, about what worked and what didn't, and I've realized something important. People change. What seems right when you're young can turn out to be a mistake when you're older and wiser." A few uncomfortable murmurs rippled through the crowd. I sat perfectly still, my hands folded in my lap. "The truth is," Marcus said, his voice growing harder, "for 25 years, I've lived with a woman who couldn't give me children, a woman who let herself go, a woman who stopped trying to be the partner I needed." Gasps. Someone said, "Marcus, what are you doing?" But he pressed on, emboldened by some twisted conviction that this was right. "I deserve to be happy. I deserve a partner who understands me, who excites me, who makes me feel alive." He looked directly at Sierra, who stood near the back of the room with a small, triumphant smile. "That's why tonight, on our 25th anniversary, I'm announcing that I want a divorce. Our marriage is over. And Elena, you need to move out of the condo. I'm keeping it. You can have half of the savings and the old car. Consider yourself lucky I'm being generous." The room erupted. People stood up, shouting, "What is wrong with you? This is disgusting. How could you do this?" But Marcus held up his hand. "I know this seems harsh, but it's time for honesty. 25 years was enough. I'm moving forward with my life, with someone who appreciates me." He gestured toward Sierra, who stepped forward, her head high, as if she were accepting an award. That was my cue. I stood slowly, and the room fell silent. Every eye turned to me. Some faces showed pity. Others showed outrage on my behalf. They expected tears. They expected me to run out. They expected me to break. Instead, I smiled. I walked calmly to the front of the room and gently took the microphone from Marcus's hand. "Thank you, darling," I said, my voice steady and clear. That was quite a speech. Very honest. And since we're being honest tonight, I have a few things to say too. Marcus frowned, confused. This wasn't in his script. "You're right," I continued, addressing the room. 25 years is a long time. Long enough to really get to know someone, to see who they truly are beneath the surface. And over these past 3 weeks, I've learned exactly who my husband is. I pulled out my phone, where I'd saved everything. The texts, the browser history, the financial records. "Marcus has been planning this moment for weeks," I said. "He's been consulting with a divorce lawyer named Hayes. He's been spending our joint savings on his mistress Sierra. $15,000 in the past month alone, to be exact. He and his mother have been plotting how to force me out of the condo we live in. Our condo." Diane turned white. Marcus took a step toward me, but I held up my hand. "But here's what Marcus forgot," I said. "Here's what he didn't bother to check. That condo, The one he so generously said I could leave? It was never his. I pulled documents from my purse. Documents Aisha had prepared. My parents gave us the down payment for that condo as a wedding gift. But the gift was to me. I have the letter my father wrote, stating clearly that the money was for his daughter Elena. Under DC law, that makes the condo my separate property. Marcus's name is on the deed, yes. But the equity, the value, the ownership, it's mine. The room was dead silent. Marcus's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. But wait, I said, smiling wider. There's more. You see, 3 weeks ago, I inherited over $3 million from my aunt in Germany, a condo in Munich, an investment property in Miami Beach, cash accounts. I'm a wealthy woman now, Marcus. Independently wealthy. I don't need you. I don't need your generosity. I don't need anything from you at all. I turned to Sierra, who had gone pale. And you, dear. I hope you enjoy your prize. A man with $43,000 in debt. A man who spent his savings trying to impress you. A man who just publicly humiliated himself in front of everyone he knows. Congratulations. He's all yours. I handed the microphone back to Marcus, who stood frozen, his face ashen. Oh, and one more thing, I said, pulling out one final document. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow morning. My lawyer has already drawn up the papers. You'll keep half the cabin and half your car. I'll keep the condo, my inheritance, and my dignity. Enjoy the rest of the party. I paid for it after all. I walked toward the exit. Behind me, chaos erupted. People were shouting at Marcus, at Sierra, at Diane. Someone yelled, "That was the most badass thing I've ever seen." Another voice, "You go, girl." Candace caught up with me at the door. "Elena," she said, her eyes shining with tears and pride. "That was incredible." "It was necessary," I replied. "And it was honest." Finally, I walked out into the cool October night, leaving behind the wreckage of Marcus's plan and the ruins of his reputation. My phone buzzed. A text from Aisha. "I'm watching the video someone posted. You were perfect. Let's meet tomorrow to finalize everything." The next morning, the video had gone viral. Someone had recorded the entire confrontation and posted it online with the caption, "Husband tries to humiliate wife at anniversary gets destroyed instead." It had 3 million views. The comments were overwhelmingly in my favor. "She's my hero. He got exactly what he deserved. That wife is a queen." Marcus called me 17 times. I didn't answer. His mother called, her voice shrill and panicked, trying to explain that it was all a misunderstanding. I hung up. The divorce took 4 months. Marcus tried to fight for half the condo. Aisha demolished his claim with the evidence of my parents' gift. He tried to claim he deserved part of my inheritance. The judge laughed him out of court. He ended up with half the cabin's value, $12,000, half the car's value, $7,000, and all $43,000 of his personal debt. Meanwhile, Sierra left him 2 weeks after the anniversary party. Turns out she was only interested in the wealthy, successful Marcus she'd been promised, not the broke, humiliated man he actually was. Marcus lost his job a month later. The viral video made him unemployable in his field. His boss said they couldn't have someone with his reputation representing the company. He ended up driving for Uber, living in a studio apartment, bitter and alone. Diane had to sell her large house to pay her portion of the legal fees. She moved to a small condo in the suburbs and stopped speaking to Marcus, blaming him for ruining the family name. As for me, I moved to Miami Beach, to the beautiful condo my aunt left me. I started a small publishing company, something I'd always dreamed of doing. I published beautiful books, worked with talented writers, and built a life I loved. 6 months after the divorce, I was sitting on my balcony overlooking the ocean when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Elena?" It was Marcus's voice, small and broken. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what I did to you. I was selfish and cruel and stupid." "Yes, you were," I said calmly. "I lost everything because I wanted more. And now I have nothing. No job, no money, no respect. Sierra left me. My mother won't talk to me. I'm alone." I felt no satisfaction in his suffering, just a distant sadness for the life we could have had if he'd been a different person. "Marcus," I said, "I forgive you. Not for your sake, but for mine. I'm letting go of the anger, but I won't forget. And I won't see you again." "Elena, please." "Maybe we could." He paused. "Maybe we could try again. Start over. I've changed. No, I said gently. You haven't changed. You just lost. Those are different things. Goodbye, Marcus. I hung up and blocked the number. That chapter of my life was closed, finished, done. A year after the divorce, on what would have been our 26th anniversary, I threw a party. Not a sad, bitter celebration of my freedom. A joyful gathering of friends who loved me, colleagues who respected me, and new people I'd met in my new life. We ate good food, drank good wine, laughed until our stomachs hurt. Someone asked me, "Do you regret those 25 years?" I thought about it for a moment. No, I said. They taught me something invaluable. They taught me that I am stronger than I ever knew. That I can survive betrayal and come out better on the other side. That my worth isn't determined by someone else's opinion of me. You're amazing, my friend said. No, I replied, smiling. I'm just a woman who refused to be a victim. And that's something anyone can choose to be. That night, I stood on my balcony, looking at the Miami skyline glittering in the darkness. The ocean breeze was warm and smelled of salt and freedom. Somewhere in D.C., Marcus was probably finishing another shift driving strangers around, counting his tips, living in his tiny apartment. Sierra was probably with her new wealthy boyfriend, already forgetting Marcus existed. Diane was in her small condo, bitter and angry at how her perfect plan had fallen apart. And me? I was here, free, independent, happy, living the life I'd built for myself from the ashes of the one Marcus tried to destroy. I raised my glass of wine to the night sky. To new beginnings, I said softly, to truth, to justice, and to knowing your worth. The truth always wins, even if it takes 25 years to emerge. And when it does, it's devastating and beautiful and absolutely worth the wait.